Good morning. I'm Rona Kramer, Secretary of the Maryland Department of Aging and lifelong... Thank you. Wow. You know what? With this audience and being on stage, I think I'm going to have to do a song and a dance. I rarely get this exciting an audience, and I'm going to have to take advantage of it. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, MoCo, home to 100+ biotech companies, NIH, NIST, FDA, and a hell of a lot of Kramers. Sounds like one of them. On behalf of the entire Hogan administration, I welcome you to Governor Hogan's Montgomery County Cabinet meeting. We are very glad to have you in attendance. We have the pleasure of meeting today at the renowned Olney Theater. For those of you who don't know, the Olney Theater has a very rich history. Our award-winning Blue Star Olney Theater, it's celebrating its 81st birthday and year of producing, presenting, and touring, not just in Maryland, but across the country. This 14-acre campus, comprised of 1 outdoor and 3 indoor stages, entertains tens of thousands of people a year, with shows varying from classic, contemporary, family musicals, and dramas, featuring the finest talent from the local area, as well as from New York, Chicago, and around the country. Please do take time today to tour this wonderful campus and speak with staff about upcoming shows and events. We will begin this morning's meeting with a presentation of colors, followed by the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. And now, please welcome the Scouts of Montgomery County and Corporal Wayne Miller of the Silver Spring Vet Center. Now, I'd like to ask you all to please rise for the presentation of colors by the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Honor Guard Team.
Color forward.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Right. Forehead. Forward.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I moved to Montgomery County just in time to celebrate my 6th birthday here. My parents thought it important to give my brother, sister, and me an opportunity to settle in and get the lay of the land before requiring that we become involved in public service. And so it was that I did not start door knocking until I was 6.5 years old. Kiefer Mitchell thinks that he had a lock on family at the Baltimore City Cabinet meeting. What he may not out hitting a Kramer, or at least someone who has campaigned for a Kramer. And so I would like to acknowledge, I was hoping to introduce, but I don't believe he's here this morning. I think he wasn't able to make it. My dad, former councilman, state senator, and Montgomery County executive, Sid Kramer. Or Betty Mae Kramer. She loved the Olney Theater, and she loved me almost as much. I'd like to note that someone sitting here today has her name engraved on their seat. And now, at great personal risk, since no one ever knows what he might say or do, I'd like to acknowledge my brother, the guy who gave my dad the very few gray hairs that he has, Delegate Ben Kramer. Oh, that's very nice. And you know, Ben, if you had been at the Baltimore City Cabinet meeting, Kiefer would have claimed you, because he claimed everybody in the room. Finally, any discussion of the Kramer family would be incomplete without recognizing my parents' other son, Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. It's that close resemblance that everyone always notes. Thank you for allowing me that personal moment. We have a great day ahead of us and a packed agenda. I have now spent nearly 4 years working with the governor, the lieutenant governor, the cabinet secretaries, and agency directors, whom I am about to introduce to you. I have to tell you that this is the most congenial, hardworking group of people that I have had the pleasure to work with. There is no discussion of politics or party in our work. It is all about getting the job done. The governor's priorities are hard work, improving the lives of Marylanders, great customer service to the taxpayer, and no waste of tax dollars. And we have listened. This is a group that has great respect for the governor and the lieutenant governor and have moved Maryland forward as a real team effort. At this time, I'd like to ask that all cabinet secretaries and directors of the governor's coordinating offices stand to be acknowledged. Please join me in giving them a big round of applause. After this meeting, our cabinet secretaries will be in the lobby, so we ask that you please hold any questions to be asked at that time. Now it is my pleasure to ask that members of the Montgomery County delegation and all local elected officials please stand to be recognized. Once again, I'd like to specifically recognize County Executive Ike Leggett, who has been a true friend to the administration over the last 4 years. Thank you all for working with us and for all that you do on behalf of Montgomery County and also on behalf of the state of Maryland. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great honor and privilege to introduce a man for whom I have great respect, the governor of our great state of Maryland, Larry Hogan.
Wow, good morning. Thank you all so much. Thank you very, very much. Wow. Thank you so much. I feel like, wow. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like I just gave a great performance here at the Olney Theater. I should be getting ready for my encore. Well, you must have had a lot of coffee this morning. But thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Rona. She is a superstar in our cabinet. She did a great job representing Montgomery County for many years, and she's a terrific aging secretary for the state of Maryland. Let's give her a round of applause for being our MC. And I want to start by thanking the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Honor Guard team. Let's give them a round of applause as well. And Corporal Wayne Miller on that rendition of the national anthem. Corporal, thank you so much. And last but not least, the Scouts of Montgomery County. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Good job, guys. I also want to thank Weldon Brown and Jason Lowith and everyone at the Olney Theater for hosting us today for this regional cabinet meeting. And I especially want to recognize a good friend and a great Marylander, your county executive, Ike Leggett, on his many decades of public service. Thank you, Ike, for being here. Thank you. Ike truly has been a valued partner over the last 4 years. I've had the chance to work with him. I mentioned I went to a great ceremony over the weekend honoring him. He's someone who I have always respected, and I said the other day that the more I've gotten to know him and the more I've had a chance to work with him, the more my respect and admiration has grown. So I want to thank you again, Ike, for being with us. I also want to thank the legislators who represent you in Annapolis, along with some of your local leaders and the other distinguished guests who have joined us today. We're really excited to be hosting this cabinet meeting here in Olney. Today we are literally bringing the entire leadership of the state government here to Montgomery County. We've assembled an incredible bipartisan cabinet and senior leadership team in our administration, and they're all dedicated public servants who are working very hard for you. And our entire team is very much looking forward to a full and very productive day here in Montgomery County. When I stood on the steps of our historic State House in Annapolis and took the oath of office, I pledged to bring fiscal responsibility and common sense to our state capitol, and we've been doing exactly what we did. The best year for job growth in 15 years. We went from losing 100,000 jobs to gaining 100,000 jobs, and now more businesses are opened and more people are working than ever before in the history of our state. We've been encouraging economic development and jobs right here in Montgomery County, and together with my partner, County Executive Leggett, just here in Montgomery County, together we've helped create 21,000 jobs all across this county over the past 4 years. When Marriott told us, sadly, that they were giving some consideration to leaving the state, County Executive Leggett and I committed to one another that we were going to roll up our sleeves and do whatever it took to make sure that that did not happen on our watch. And in June of this year, together we broke ground on Marriott's brand new $600 million world headquarters and flagship hotel complex. Thank you, Ike. Last year, we broke ground on the $5.6 billion Purple Line project, which is the largest P3 transit project in America. It's going to connect right here in Montgomery County from Bethesda to Carrollton and Prince George's County with a 16-mile track and 21 stops. It's going to seamlessly integrate with our current transit systems, combining Metro, MARC, and Amtrak. In addition to the Purple Line, we've also invested another $1.9 billion in other Montgomery County transportation projects. County Executive Leggett and I have also been a real team working seamlessly together in order to try to put Montgomery County and our state in prime position to attract Amazon's new world headquarters. This is the biggest economic development opportunity in a generation, which could create 100,000 jobs and would contribute $17 billion in economic impact. These are just three of the many transformative projects that we've been working hard on with Ike Leggett here in Montgomery County. From day one, education has been the top priority of our administration. Not only have we fully funded education in all 24 jurisdictions, but we went far beyond full funding by including more than the legislative formulas called for, investing $25 billion in K-12 education. We're creating a lockbox to ensure that all the casino revenue goes directly into the classrooms. We're leading the fight for more accountability in our local school systems and working hard to make schools safer. We recently enacted new innovative initiatives to provide much-needed relief from student debt, to provide greater access to higher education, to make college more affordable. We're also making it more affordable and offering greater support for new parents and working families. And this morning, I'm pleased to announce that we're expanding parental leave benefits to all state employees. Beginning on October 1st, we will be providing all state employees with 60 days of parental leave following the birth of a child or following the adoption of a child under 6 years of age. We're also maximizing flexibility for working parents by making these 60 days of parental leave available anytime within 6 months following the birth or adoption of a child, because being a new parent isn't just about being home for the first 6 weeks following your child's birth. It's also the doctor's appointments, the checkups, and the other important needs in your child's early stages of life. By expanding these important benefits and increasing flexibility, our administration is leading by example. And our hope is that other employers and small businesses throughout the state will follow our lead. And to encourage that to happen, we're announcing that at the beginning of the legislative session in January, we will introduce the Small Business Relief Tax Credit Act of 2019 to expand on the legislation that we successfully enacted last year, which provides tax credits to incentivize small businesses to provide paid sick leave. Under the Small Business Relief Tax Credit Act of 2019, these tax credits will be expanded to small businesses that offer paid parental leave to their employees. In addition, for all small businesses that offer both paid sick leave and parental leave, we will double the total amount of tax credits available to these businesses. We look forward to working hard with our colleagues from Montgomery County to pass this important legislation early next year. By working in a bipartisan manner, we've made incredible progress over the past 4 years, but there's still much more work to be done. And today, our entire team will be spreading out from one end of Montgomery County to the other. This afternoon, I'll be in Brookville to make an exciting transportation announcement regarding Route 97, before going to the Holiday Park Senior Center in Wheaton to make another important announcement. Lieutenant Governor Rutherford will be joined by Environment Secretary Ben Grumbles and Maryland Environmental Service Director Roy McGrath on a tour of the Montgomery County Recycling Center. The Lieutenant Governor will also join Clay Stamp, Executive Director of the Opioid Operational Command Center, on a tour of Oxford House, a self-run and self-supported recovery house in Silver Spring. These are just a few of the more than 100 visits and meetings that our administration will be holding in Montgomery County just today. I want you all to know that everyone on our entire team is committed to working together with your legislators, your local elected officials, and the problems and to seize on the opportunities here in Montgomery County. Working together with all of you, we're going to continue to change Maryland for the better. Now, before we move on with the rest of your agenda today, I want to just take a moment to recognize two very special individuals. A few moments ago, you heard Corporal Wayne Miller do an incredible job performing our national anthem. Corporal Miller served in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War, where he was wounded and lost his leg in combat. Even decades after he hung up his fatigues, Corporal Miller is still serving and still working hard to strengthen his community and to advocate for his fellow veterans. He runs the Silver Spring Vet Center, which offers a number of important services for our combat veterans and their families, from registration, from reintegration to mental and behavioral health treatment. And in honor of his bravery and his continued service to our state and our nation, I would like to ask Colonel Wayne Miller to please come forward so that I can present him with a governor's citation. Let's give him a big round of applause. And now I want to again just take one more minute to recognize my good friend and a truly great Maryland leader this morning. During his 3 terms as county executive, he has exemplified unwavering integrity and devotion to the people of Montgomery County. He's been a trailblazer and a pioneer, a fierce advocate for the people of Maryland. And he is a man who has led with incredible grace and humility and strength. At this time, I'd like to ask your great county executive, Ike Leggett, to please come forward so I can present him with a governor's citation for his outstanding service.
Thank you so very much, Governor, and thank all of you for coming out. As a federal veteran, let me again acknowledge Wayne for your service and again, welcome home. Let me acknowledge the strong Kramer family, who's such an integral part of this theater and so much of what has happened in Montgomery County. As Rona indicated, I'm an adopted Kramer. I say that with a great deal of joy because when I first started this task, historical task, as early as 1985, it was Betty Mae Kramer and Sid Kramer taking a chance on me and helping me to be elected to my very first office. I want to thank them for their continued support. Also acknowledge Ben Kramer, who's here, who's running to become a senator. And given the fact that his father's been a senator, his sister has been a senator, Ben will have the pleasure potentially of being the third best Kramer U.S. Senator. Let me acknowledge and thank the governor and your entire cabinet, many of whom we know by name because we've seen them over the years. And I say over the years because not just in an election year, they have been here in Montgomery County working diligently on behalf of our county and our state from day one, whether it's transportation and housing. Mike Gill and I, our team, worked so hard on so many of the initiatives the governor talked about. And your outstanding Lieutenant Governor, there was an article a few months back about his style, his intellect, his hard work. But from day one, he started working on the opioid crisis in the state of Maryland and working with our teams such as Uma Olawale and so many others. I am so, so proud that he has been on our side, working on our behalf. So let's give this Lieutenant Governor a round of applause as well. Thank you. And finally, let me acknowledge again the governor's efforts, because we are here and only today. But from day one, we met in Burtonsville, my home area, to talk about the challenges facing Montgomery County in the state of Maryland. And he has been a friend and a partner working on a variety of issues from day one. Let me also acknowledge his wife, because she has been here as well. She has worked with my wife and so many others throughout Montgomery County and around the state. So let's give her a round of applause, because she's a part of a great team. But the governor mentioned that he was here just Sunday at a celebration at Strathmore for my wife and I. It was a celebration not so much as a tribute to Catherine and I, but a celebration to help us raise resources for our needy kids in Montgomery County to attend Montgomery College and the University of Maryland, Shady Grove. We were able to raise the other night, I think, about $1.7 million. And thank you, Governor, for being there, for helping us. That sum, along with all the other initiatives and helping to keep college affordable under your leadership for our state, will help a large number of students so that we have other leaders and others who will continue the tradition in our state of making this one of the best places to live. Governor, you've been a true friend and a true partner, and thank you for coming back again and again to Montgomery County and your entire team for what they've done over the years. Congratulations for being here today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Thank you, Governor. I'd like to take one moment to note a little injustice here. The governor referred to me as the aging secretary. And I just want to tell you, they're aging too, okay? That wasn't really personal, was it? As a local resident, I've seen firsthand this administration's positive efforts to change Montgomery County and the state of Maryland for the better. As one of his first acts in office, and I want to reiterate, as one of his first acts in office, Governor Hogan tasked the Lieutenant Governor with leading the Heroin and Opioid Emergency Task Force. Through that task force, the Opioid Operational Command Center was created to address the growing heroin crisis. Last year, the Maryland State Department of Education and the Opioid Operational Command Center teamed up to provide funding to the Montgomery County Public Schools Recovery and Academic Program, which provides recovery support and prevents relapse prevention. At this time, the Lieutenant Governor will brief you on this collaboration and the administration's ongoing efforts to combat the heroin crisis, a crisis that in one way or another has touched everyone in this room. It's my privilege to introduce Maryland's very hard-working Lieutenant Governor, Boyd Rutherford.
Thank you. Oh, come on. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And obviously, Secretary Kramer is not the aging secretary, as I think she just said that she only moved here, what, 20 years ago? You said you were 6, and so you moved here just 20. Good morning. Well, it's great to be here in Montgomery County for today's regional cabinet meeting. I want to take a few moments to provide a brief update on an innovative program that we're implementing here in collaboration with Montgomery County Public Schools and the Landing Family Services as part of what we like to say an all-hands-on-deck approach and effort to combating the heroin and opioid epidemic. Under the governor's leadership, our administration has been sounding the alarm on this and shining a spotlight on this critical situation for the past 4 years. We have already committed more than $600 million towards fighting the heroin and opioid and substance abuse issues in this state. In March of 2017, the governor made Maryland the first state to declare a real state of emergency with regard to this crisis. And we activated the Opioid Operational Command Center to more rapidly coordinate between state, local, and federal partners and dedicated an additional $50 million towards this effort. We stood up the opioid intervention teams that were led by health officials and emergency managers in each of our 24 jurisdictions. And they are working hard every day in partnership with first responders, law enforcement, criminal justice, social services agencies, the faith community, and other nonprofit organizations to fight this epidemic. And in June of this year, we announced an additional $40 million in new funding through a variety of prevention, enforcement, treatment, and recovery efforts. But as we move forward together, an essential component of this effort is education and public awareness. We must remain steadfast in our resolve to find solutions, particularly when it comes to our youngest Marylanders. Our administration is pleased that we were able to provide $200,000 in our fiscal 2018 budget to support the innovative Montgomery County Public Schools Recovery Program model. I had the pleasure of visiting the program just this past May, and of course was very impressed with what is going on there. This new program, in partnership with the Landing Family Service, which is a community-based organization that provides substance use recovery support and relapse prevention, is providing critical service to our Montgomery County students. Students currently enrolled in or have dropped out of Montgomery County Public Schools receive academic intervention, including face-to-face as well as online classes with certified teachers. Students in the program can receive college or career support and advisement in order to help steer them back on the path toward post-secondary goals. And students also have an opportunity to receive substance use counseling and recovery support. Through this innovative program, we are meeting Montgomery County students where they are and engaging them in their own recovery. Currently, there are 4 students enrolled in the recovery academic program, and Montgomery County Public Schools is actively recruiting additional students. It is our hope that we can replicate this pilot across the state. And we have committed another $200,000 in our latest budget for this initiative. Working together, we can help to give students who need it the most a second chance. This is a crisis that is much more than just a health crisis. It is tearing apart families and communities here in Montgomery County as well as throughout the state. Ultimately, the bottom line is this is all about saving lives, and it will take a collaborative, holistic approach to achieve that. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Montgomery County.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I would like to turn over the podium at this time to Pat Lally, Senior Executive Director of the Governor's Coordinating Offices. He will be presenting governor's citations to members of the community who exemplify a commitment to service and who continue to make Montgomery County and the entire state of Maryland very proud.
Thank you, Secretary. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Montgomery County. As the Secretary said, my name is Pat Lally, and I am honored to be here today to present governor's citations to exemplary members of the community. When your name is called, please come up to the stage here to be recognized. Yoon Jun Young. Yoon is co-chair of the Maryland Commission for Women. Currently, the Commission is participating in a statewide listening tour to hear the voices of Maryland women and assess the needs and challenges of women in Maryland, as well as strengthen collaborations with organizations and provide services for women. So far, she has traveled 3,000 miles and conducted over 19 forums. Yoon is typically joined by Patricia Cornish, but unfortunately, Patricia could not be here today. Thank you, Yoon, for your hard work. Jillian Copeland. Among the many hats Jillian wears, one is chair of the Board of Trustees of Main Street Connect, a comprehensive, community-centered residential development that fosters inclusive opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities. Jillian was instrumental in the creation of this development. Additionally, she volunteers for several other organizations, including the Children's National Medical Center and the Bullis 5K Buddy Run. Thank you, Jillian, for all you do for the community. Kenneth Grundy. Kenneth has been volunteering at Seneca Creek State Park for over 20 years and has served as president for the past 10. Thanks to Kenneth's skill, dedication, and leadership, the Friends have raised over $55,000 to support park operations and provide new amenities for park visitors. These improvements showcase Maryland's rich agricultural heritage. Thank you, Kenneth, for your service. Ivy Mountain School. For more than 55 years, Ivy Mountain School has created nationally recognized programs and partnerships for people with autism and special needs, as well as for their families. Their goal is to help students reach their highest level of development, potential, and independence. Through innovative services, dynamic new programs, community partnerships, and comprehensive teacher training, Ivy Mountain continues to be a premier educational organization focused on positive outcomes. Accepting on behalf of Ivy Mountain is Education Director Amy Alvord. Thank you, Amy. Montgomery County Inside Not Outside Initiative. Since January 2016, Montgomery County Inside Not Outside Initiative has placed more than 386 chronically homeless individuals into permanent housing. It's just shy of being one of the largest communities of its kind in the country. More than 150 of these placements have occurred this calendar year alone. Accepting this citation today is Amanda Harris and Uma Alawaliya. Thank you for helping the people of Montgomery County, Maryland. Wendy Howard. Wendy Howard is the first executive director of One Montgomery Green, which is a thank you, which is a Maryland nonprofit formed to catalyze the county's transition to a sustainable economy. It facilitates environmental responsibility among businesses, residents, and government, and increases the quality of life for all Montgomery County residents. Wendy has been instrumental in increasing OMG's outreach and promoting Montgomery County as a visibly green, sustainable community. Thank you, Wendy, for your work. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations. I'd like to welcome back Secretary Kramer.
Thank you, Pat. It's my pleasure now to introduce Transportation Secretary, a man who is very important to all of us, Pete Ron, and State Highway Administrator Greg Slater, who will provide an update on the administration's traffic relief plan.
Good morning, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, honored guests of the Cabinet. It is my pleasure and also our administrator's pleasure to be able to brief the Cabinet on the Governor's vision for addressing this important issue of congestion in the state of Maryland. As you can see from the next photo, this is what most people anticipate their life to be like as they live in the capital region and, in fact, in many places across the state, and are resigned to the fact that that's the only option, that we are always going to see traffic like this. I can tell you that it was not hard to get that photo. I can tell you that it's in focus because the cars were parked. And it is a major issue for our state if we're going to address a better quality of life and economic growth. The next slide is actually a series of 3 slides which will show the congestion on a heat map that will go from our congestion today, congestion in 2025, and congestion in 2040. Now, what you notice is that this congestion, why don't you run through that one more time so that everyone can actually see what that looks like. And so what we're dealing with as a state is that it's not just the route itself that's congested. It is because of Waze and Google and all these other apps that direct drivers off of the highways where they belong and take them through your neighborhoods. They take them in front of your children's schools and adjacent to their parks. This impact is not just a congested highway, it's a congested neighborhood, and something needs to be done about it, as the governor has directed. What we are looking at on the next slide is that 495 has 253,000 cars today on it, and between now and 2040, 22 years from now, we're looking at 282,000 more cars. Now, what we know is you can't squeeze more cars into that photo, so what happens is you end up extending the congestion in time, so that what we will see is congestion will expand from 7 hours to 10 or 12 hours. So that is our future without the governor's plan to address traffic in the traffic relief plan. So also, if you notice on 270, which is the most traveled route in the state, today roughly 260,000 cars a day will grow to 299,000 cars. I don't believe that is a future any of us want to bear. So the governor's multimodal transportation program is not just highways, but it's an important part of a balanced transportation system that Maryland needs. Now, we have out today, most people are talking about the improvements that we're looking at for I-495 and I-270. And as you can see, those are central to an important overall program. But we're not looking at just those highways. What you can see on this map, you can see in purple, is the Purple Line, a $5.6 billion improvement that will link routes from MARC, Amtrak, and Metro. You can also see the proposal for the improvement to the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. You can see the improvements to the Baltimore Beltway, I-95, active traffic management, the express toll lane expansions on I-95. We're doing the Purple Line. We've done Baltimore Link, smart signals in many congested corridors across the state, and investments in improving the MARC experience. What we are seeing is a total investment focused on a balanced transportation system of $17.8 billion. It is a huge investment, but it's an investment that's necessary, and it's one that Governor Hogan recognized over 3.5 years ago, the first time that I had the opportunity to talk to him about what were we going to do about transportation in this state. What you can see on the next slide is this is a model of the improvements that are being discussed and going through the NEPA process on 495 and on 270. And what it shows, the bright green, says at peak traffic times, traffic will flow at 60+ miles an hour. The worst it shows at peak travel time in those yellow areas is that travel will be at 30 to 45 miles an hour. I think everybody would accept that for dealing with the traffic that's out there today. So lastly, I would like to go over very quickly. So far, we have had 7,400 people, 7,400 residents of this area who have responded to the survey, and of that, 84% have said that they always or usually experience congestion on 495 and 270. 77% said that they have used alternate routes that have taken them near and through residential neighborhoods. 47% have said they have experienced additional costs from congestion, like late fees at daycare, at missed medical appointments, and an overall reduced quality of life. 43% of those businesses who are involved in service calls have said they schedule fewer service calls because of the congestion within that region. And lastly, and a huge number, is that 88% of the 7,400 respondents have said that improving the congestion that we experience on 495 and 270 is an important project. It is important to 88% of the 7,400 respondents. This is huge. I believe the governor is absolutely on target with what has to happen for transportation in the state and here in Montgomery County. With that, Greg Slater, our state highway administrator.
Thank you, Pete. To really build on what Secretary Ron was talking about, I'm here to talk about the largest part of our traffic relief plan, and it's our P3. So what we have today is a project that is really looking to address over 70 miles of some of the most congested roadways in the nation. We've put this project forth, and we're really stressing a lot of goals in this. If you look at the strategic goals, we're really early in the process, but the strategic goals guide everything that we do. First, we want a solution that will provide the greatest amount of congestion relief to Maryland residents as we possibly can get. Second, the least amount. We want to touch our travelers and the people that live on our roadways. Not at all. What we're looking for, this is a solution, let me say this pretty clearly. We are looking for a solution that fits within the existing right-of-way of the roadway that's out there today. We're looking for no net cost to the state. We want to harness innovation. We want to harness private sector dollars to bring this solution to Marylanders, because we want to bring this solution forth as quickly as we possibly can. Accelerated delivery, that means thinking collaboratively, working together so that we can bring this solution to the citizens as quickly as possible. And fourth, shockingly innovative. I'm going to touch that a little bit towards the end a little bit again, but really looking at innovative solutions in process, solutions, policy, everything across the board. Innovative, thinking differently. Where are we in the process? We're really early, but we're out there working collaboratively. We wanted to start and end with a collaboration with the citizens of Montgomery County, Frederick County, Prince George's County, and everybody that travels in that region. So the first thing we did was we went out in April and we solicited input from the public before we even started. We were scoping the project and we were out in the community. We had 400 people attend our scoping workshop. We went back out in July and we said, okay, this is what we heard from you in April. And this is the range of solutions that we developed from what we heard from you. We developed 15 alternatives from that. 600 people, again, came and worked with us in the workshop. We got 3,000 comments that range from overall support of the project, or one likes one alternative or the other, just really ranging alternatives so that we're making sure that we're addressing this. And then really coming back out. So what we're doing today is we're taking all of that comment. We're bringing that in, we're working collaboratively, and we're trying to work really hand in hand with the community that we serve. So let me talk about some facts here on this project. Some real clear facts. What's free today is going to be free tomorrow. So the roadway that's out there today, what we're looking at is is really working in conjunction with that. But what's there today is free tomorrow, but better, because it'll be less congested as we shift some of those people's travel onto different systems. So what's free today is free tomorrow. We're really looking for those innovative solutions. No net cost to the state. We're bringing in that private sector investment, that private sector innovation, bringing these solutions to the citizens of Maryland. And the last piece I'll touch on is innovation. There are some really cool innovative solutions across the world today in really looking at both a range of transportation alternatives in not only big spaces but tight spaces. These are some of the most interesting ones that we have seen, and I'll go through them real quickly. But what we're looking for is not necessarily these, but some even better. We're harnessing that private sector innovation. If you look at the one down on the lower left-hand corner, that's really taking the capacity and maximizing what's out there today. Very similar, anybody who's traveled the project that we recently did on the Severn River Bridge, same approach, fitting it in tight spaces, innovative solutions in everything that we do. The next one is a really cool mixed tunnel roadway solution in Dublin, Ireland, where they've separated transit and freight vehicles. That's really the use of reversible lanes and how you can fit those things in tight spaces. And that one in the upper left is a really cool solution that was developed in Dallas, where they were trying to fit a solution in a tight space. It's not a bridge, it's not a tunnel, it's a cantilevered system. They had toll lanes in the middle, traveling down, they depressed them, brought the outside general purpose lanes up, cantilevered them over, and then spread it back out when they had more space. Really cool solutions in tight spaces. And that's what you get when you challenge the private sector. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on that existing right-of-way, fit that approach in that existing right-of-way, and challenge the private sector to bring those solutions to us collaboratively with the people that we serve every day. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you a dynamo and a good friend, Major General Linda Singh of the Maryland Army National Guard. Major General Singh will be presenting governor's citations to members of the public safety community who demonstrate a commitment to public safety and security and who go above and beyond the call of duty.
Thank you, Secretary Kramer. I am Major General Singh, as Rona just said, and I'm thrilled to be able to present these citations to the men and women who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to protect others. So when your name is called, please come to the stage to be recognized. Debbie Feinstein, on top of being the Chief of Special Victims Division at the State's Attorney's Office for the past 6 years, Ms. Feinstein is an active member of the Governor's Family Violence Council, the chair of Healthy Team Dating Work Group, a member of the Montgomery County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, and an advisory member of the Jewish Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Ms. Feinstein has also assisted with the development of a resource guide consisting of teen dating violence prevention programs for educators in Maryland. Thank you so much for your important work. Montgomery County Police Vice and Intelligence Unit. In December of 2017, the Montgomery County Police Vice and Intelligence Unit received a complaint regarding potential human trafficking. After months of diligent investigation on June 13, 2018, the investigation led to several high-profile arrests. The multi-jurisdictional operation also resulted in 7 human trafficking victims taken in to receive care and resources. Thank you for your hard work and perseverance in such an important investigation. Officer Lori Reyes. Officer Reyes created the nationally recognized Montgomery County Police Department Autism, Intellectual Development Disabilities, and Alzheimer's Outreach Program, which provides a layered approach to awareness and safety through education, outreach, follow-up, empowerment, and response. The program began as a reaction to the growing number of phone calls for at-risk and missing individuals with those conditions. Officer Reyes trains police officers and community members on how to support individuals and family members. Most recently, Officer Reyes was one of 25 law enforcement officers and deputies from 12 jurisdictions across the country to receive the Attorney General's Award for Distinguished Service in Policing. Thank you for your committed service, Officer Reyes. Hero Dogs. Hero Dogs Incorporated is a nonprofit corporation that improves the quality of life for our nation's veterans of the U.S. military and first responders with disabilities by raising, training, and placing service dogs and other high-skilled canines free of charge with lifetime support of partnerships. Hero Dogs staff and volunteers train dogs to assist veterans with disabilities by helping them to accomplish everyday tasks. More than 55 dogs have entered the Hero Dogs program since its start in 2009. With us today, we have several members of the Hero Dogs staff, as well as an Air Force veteran, Michael Harris, with his hero dog, Gracie. Thank you for your service. And I want to say thank you and congratulations to all of our deserving citation recipients. And I'd like to welcome back Secretary Kramer.
Thank you, Major General. I have to tell you that I am always jealous of the way she gets to dress at our meetings. Not jealous enough to go through boot camp, mind you. Next in the lineup, I'd like to welcome the woman who just barely beat me in a charity spinning competition, Secretary Kelly Schultz of the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation. She'll be introducing the Maryland Workforce Expressway, a new initiative that gives employers easy access to education, training, and employment services that will help them to build a skilled workforce necessary to succeed and thrive.
Truth be told, those that know Rona, she was the one cheering everybody on so that we didn't stop and we didn't quit during the middle of the bike-a-thon. Good morning, Governor, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for having us back here today. I would like to present what we like to call the Workforce Expressway. And I was talking in the back, and I'm going after the Department of Transportation's presentation on a traffic jam on 270. Well, I am here to show you a traffic jam when it comes to workforce development. And this is what we have. So at the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation, we have the wonderful opportunity to do many things. One of those is workforce development. However, as many of you know, but many of you probably don't know, there are many, many organizations and cabinet secretaries, directorships, agencies across the state that do just that. They also do workforce development. They provide different types of services to both businesses and those individuals that are looking for different types of training and experience. As a matter of fact, you will see on the screen all of the different agencies that are involved. The governor had asked the Department of Labor to move forward and create a workforce plan for the state of Maryland, which we did. We presented that to the United States Department of Labor, and we got glowing remarks because in our workforce plan, we incorporated all of these agencies and then other agencies, both local, many of them here in Montgomery County and across the state, in order to be able to create a real system of resources that can benefit all of the stakeholders involved. But the problem is that they tend to be our best kept secret in the state. Everything gets jammed together. People think that each of the agencies, because of possibly a title or what we might do, that they are all looking for that type of services, or worse yet, they don't know that a service actually exists. And this is where I affectionately say we get stuck in our workforce traffic jam. Almost 4 years ago, the governor had asked myself and all of my colleagues sitting behind me to do what was his most important thing for customers, and that was to be able to provide a customer service system that was out there to provide the services and the resources to the taxpayers of the state of Maryland. When we realize that this exists, working together particularly with Secretary Gill from the Department of Commerce and the Department of Assessments and Taxation, we pulled together a wonderful resource, which is what we are looking to be able to address the needs of all of our individual citizens. And we can look at the next slide to say that we have created the Maryland Workforce Expressway. Secretary David Brinkley will say, cheaper is good, free is better. Right, Secretary Brinkley? Because he says no to us a lot over at the Department of Budget and Management. So with Michael Higgs and under his leadership at the Department of Assessments and Taxation, under an existing program that they have with the Maryland Business Express, we were able to tap into those resources and create for free, no cost, Secretary, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, it's free, a free expressway that results in an ease of translation and an initiative into the resources so that each individual can know what we can provide overall at a statewide level. You'll see on the screen that there are many resources that are available. Some of them are talent engagement. Those are areas in which we, particularly the Department of Labor, we can work with those individuals actually seeking to find workforce development performers. Higher incentives. At the Department of Commerce, you'll realize that there are tax incentives, there are credits, there are initiatives in which businesses can tap into resources that they probably did not know existed. And the labor and industry standards. We understand specifically within our labor and industry that those initiatives like employment standards, wage and hour, how businesses are actually able to comply with our regulatory and our statutory processes is very, very important to businesses as they move forward, amongst many other types of resources that are available. I encourage each of you to visit SSTAT's Business Express, and in particular, go to the page that talks about workforce services. All of our stakeholders, our businesses, industries across the states, geographical variances, demographic variances, will find that you're going to be able to see the resources that you didn't know how to find, and in most cases, didn't even know existed. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Secretary Schultz. I now enjoy the opportunity to invite to the podium Executive Director Glenn Fuston of the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, and Dr. Randy Walters, Deputy Secretary of the Operations at the Department of Human Services. They will discuss the state's efforts to prevent human trafficking and protection of victims.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, for allowing me to speak today. My name is Glenn Fuston. I'm the Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, and I was going to try to stay with the theme of traffic jam and talking about human trafficking. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. I thought I was supposed to stay on that theme. But I am glad to be here with my colleague, Deputy Secretary Randy Walters, because in many ways our work is linked. Today, I'll talk about the prevalence of gangs and human trafficking and what we're doing about it. Deputy Secretary Walters will talk about the work the Maryland Department of Health and the Department of Human Services is doing on both fronts. It's fitting that we're here in Montgomery County to talk about gangs and human trafficking because in many ways this is ground zero for both. We know that Montgomery County is a great place to live, work, and raise a family, but it's also a location that gangs and human traffickers who see this as a central location to get into and get out of. Most of us have heard of MS-13. There are other gangs, but that is the most known gang here in Montgomery County. They are responsible for human trafficking, assaults, robberies, killings, drug distribution, and other violent crimes. Gang-related crimes here are up close to 70% between MS-13, Hit Squad, and L3, other gangs in this region. And there have been 11 gang-related homicides this year alone. And these gangs have their hands in nearly every single school district in the county. And they're recruiting at middle schools, if not before. Human trafficking does not affect one race, ethnic origin, economic class. It's a crime that affects individuals of all backgrounds, no matter their education or their income level. While there is no specific profile for human trafficking victims, there are circumstances that cause someone to be more vulnerable to victimization in human trafficking. Unfortunately, these victims often don't identify as victims of human trafficking. And I applaud Montgomery County for some of the recent high-profile arrests related to human trafficking. But whether it's gangs or human trafficking, we can't go about this alone. Montgomery County and the state of Maryland have had a strong partnership when it comes to fighting crime and serving victims. The governor has directed my office to collaborate with Montgomery County to provide more than $50 million in grants over the last 3 years. These grants have gone to help fund assistance for police, funding for victim services, funding to go after internet crimes against children, and funding for child advocacy programs. Montgomery County is also partnering with the state by joining the Maryland Criminal Intelligence Network. Governor Hogan launched the Maryland Criminal Intelligence Network in December, and this network is going to enable law enforcement to better identify, disrupt, and dismantle criminal organizations through through collaboration and comprehensive data sharing. Other announcements that we've recently taken, the governor's recently taken on human trafficking, is the direction from my office to hire an anti-human trafficking director that will coordinate human trafficking efforts across the state. The creation of the Maryland Crime Research and Innovation Center, which will act as a hub for criminal justice excellence for the state. Governor Hogan has also identified $5 million in direct funding for victims of human trafficking. And finally, anti-human trafficking legislation that he plans on announcing next year. I can talk all day about the crime numbers, data sharing, and how much money we've put forth towards victim services. But touching the lives of victims and putting the faces on those numbers is what my colleague, Dr. Walters, Deputy Secretary of Maryland Department of Human Services, does every day. I'm sure that finding ways to keep Maryland's most vulnerable citizens safe is what keeps her up at night. With that, I introduce Dr. Walters.
Thank you. You've outlined the terrible toll that human trafficking has on our communities, but also how Maryland is trying to tackle this head on. We know that if we're going to be successful in tackling this issue, it's going to take all of us. Our department, which is the primary human service agency for the state, is making dedicated efforts to provide critical services to those in our community that are victims of trauma and violence. But before I speak in big picture terms, I want to provide a quick snapshot of the struggle too many of our children face. I'd like to share with you the story of Maria. She's just 15 years old. After fleeing gang violence in her home country, she came to live with her uncle in Maryland. Maria's shy. She doesn't speak English well, and she really struggled to fit in at school. Things were even harder for her at home. Her uncle is out of work, has a violent temper, takes it out on Maria by demanding grueling amounts of housework. Often when she can't meet those demands, he beats her. So in her rare moments of privacy, Maria turns to social media to try to escape her worries. And it's there that she connects with a boy from school named Alex. They like the same things, they speak the same language, they find out they're from the same home country, and they begin to hang out at school together. After school, they're often in Alex's home, where he lives with two of his older brothers. A few months later, Maria gets kicked out of her house, and so she decides she's going to go stay with Alex and her older brothers. When she gets there, she finds out that there's another girl her same age that's staying in the house as well. It's not long before her story gets even more tragic. She finds out that these brothers are prostituting the girl to make money, and soon after, she also begins to be trafficked. She's terrified of the gang's violent reputation, and she experiences it firsthand when she says no and resists a certain buyer. One day, the brothers are driving with Maria when the police pull them over for speeding. They find drugs in the car. My guess is it's some of those that you got recipients today that are astute enough to start to ask questions about Maria, what she needs. And they make an immediate referral when they think that she might be a victim of trafficking to Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services immediately takes Maria to a child advocacy center. They know there she'll only have to tell her story one time. She'll receive a medical examination, and she'll participate in a forensic interview where everyone can get the same information in order to make the best decisions about how to serve her. For the first time in a long time, Maria finds herself with a group of people that want to support her. It's the local Department of Human Services, a victim's advocate, and a therapeutic caregiver. That's just one story of many, but I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the services that we are trying to roll out across Maryland for victims just like Maria. First of all, we've really focused on identification, wanting to direct significant resources to prevention. Our social workers are utilizing advanced screening tools to interpret data about a number of factors so that we know better who to look for, so that we can design service array for those particular needs. With victim identification, we're acutely sensitive to the concerns of each exploited individual like Maria. No two tragic stories are ever precisely the same, and so how we react can't be the same either. Once these victims come into our care, we focus on giving them not just a place to live, but a place to heal. To that end, under Governor Hogan's administration, we've greatly expanded the services to trafficking victims. Starting in 2015, the Department of Human Services, in partnership with the Governor's Office for Crime Control and Prevention, have made a concentrated effort that child advocacy centers across Maryland achieve accreditation from the National Children's Alliance. I'm pleased to report that in 2015, there were 7 accredited child advocacy centers, but today that figure has doubled. For those of you that get a chance to visit the one here in Montgomery County, it's just an excellent example of the kind of services, wraparound services that are provided at the local level. These child advocacy centers across Maryland encompass an extensive network of partners, public and private, and these groups work together well to ensure that children have ample support to cope and to heal. Also, in response to the increasing number of trafficking victims, DHS has implemented a risk assessment tool, and we're using that tool on every single child that we come into contact with. We're also in the process of procuring additional placement resources. This will allow us to provide greater number of victims with a safe place to live and the very specialized environment that they need in order to live a very different life. We're also thinking hard about our workforce and how to make sure that they're ready and skilled to tackle this important issue. In partnership with the University of Maryland School of Social Work, we've developed a comprehensive training module. It's really directed at child welfare workers and how they can be ready to engage children who are victims of sex trafficking. To date, 690 members of our staff have participated. We have a commitment that 100%, so over 2,000 of our workers, will be trained in this by September of 2019. We're also really thinking about how we create greater awareness of the Marias in our communities. We've launched internal and external communication campaigns, putting the issues in the constant forefront of our social media and online venues. We're committed to working with our federal partners. We're prominently posting the National Human Trafficking Hotline in multiple locations. We've also created a brochure that we've given to all 24 local social service offices. We've brought that at the back today for you to take a look at the kind of information that's available in our communities. I want to note that our vigilance will not be dictated by calendars or news cycles. We know it needs to be constant. And in closing, I'd like to emphasize something that I think we all know in our heads, but must mark in our hearts collectively. It's not only our wish, but it is our responsibility to create best possible outcomes for children like Maria. We thank you for joining in that effort and for your time and attention today.
If that isn't important work, I don't know what is. Thank you. Finally, I would like to introduce Greg Derwart, Managing Director of Administration and Customer Experience at the Maryland Department of Commerce. He will be presenting Governor's citations to state employees who have demonstrated consistent and outstanding customer service to the citizens of Montgomery County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Kramer, and good morning, Montgomery County. My name is Greg Derwart, and I'm very pleased to be able to present these citations to our team members, the hardworking employees of the great state of Maryland. Now, customer service is extremely important to the Hogan-Rutherford administration. In June of 2016, the governor launched his Customer Service Initiative, which is a continuous program designed to foster improvements in customer service across all Maryland state agencies to change Maryland for the better. And the initiative is working. Survey results show that the vast majority of our customers are satisfied with services being provided. And in fact, we continue to improve year over year. In the Governor's Customer Service Annual Report that will be released next week, you will see an overall customer satisfaction. The ratings improved from 81% in fiscal year 2017 to 87% in fiscal year 18. So folks, when your name is called, please come up front to be recognized. We're going to start with Dr. John Kenny. Dr. Kenny has served as Chief of Aging and Disability Services at the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services for 25 years. Among many things, Dr. Kenny has led the teams that open and operate local emergency shelters in response to weather disasters in the community and addressing the needs of persons in distress. He has served as an appointed representative of the Montgomery County Executive in countless advisory boards and commissions. He has demonstrated exceptional leadership and public service and has made significant contributions to the community. Thank you, Dr. Kenny, and congratulations on your upcoming retirement. Next up is David Comas. After a 30-year career serving his country in the United States Navy, Captain David Comas retired and joined the Maryland Energy Administration as the agency's Solar Energy Program Manager. In his role, David manages the Clean Energy Grant Program and recently launched 2 unique and innovative community solar programs. David frequently interacts with Maryland residents interested in installing solar technology, as well as helping contractors and businesses working to deploy solar technology across our state. In fact, David was recognized 6 times specifically by name through the customer service survey process by Maryland constituents. Thank you for your hard work, David. Last but not least is Roy Cannon. Roy is an employee at the Department of Transportation. He has tremendous institutional knowledge of transportation projects, road transfers, and right-of-way records. He has saved countless hours of research and always provides a quick and thorough anniversary of state service. Now, Roy cannot be here today, so I thank Greg Slater, State Highway Administration Administrator, for accepting this award on his behalf. But let's give Roy a round of applause. So thank you to all of our citation recipients for providing a great customer experience for the citizens of Maryland. Rona, I'll send it back to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Greg. This concludes our Montgomery County Cabinet meeting. I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as I have and as we have. To be honest, this has been more fun than my bat mitzvah. I would like to thank you for welcoming all of us to Montgomery County and note that we're looking forward to site visits in the community for the remainder of the day. Thank you very much.